If there's such a thing as a ghost train, this is it. An engine that no one knew existed heading back towards its home shed, which somehow managed to escape demolition. The identity of the engine, Rood Ashton Hall, was only discovered when engineers in Birmingham began to restore a pile of rusty components. Today it's going home to the Thames Valley to visit some more ghost trains from a bygone world. A few miles north of Newbury, the Great Western Society runs a retirement home for railway engines. Some of them still exercise daily in the gardens, though most are simply slumbering in the sunshine. The engine shed at Didcot was saved by railway enthusiasts and has proved a perfect sanctuary. Some of these pensioners look like they've got one foot in the grave. Others expect to be wheeled around by the matronly figure of the resident diesel shunter. All of them can and will be nursed back to health, including one or two that need surgery. The resident engines look keen to be out and about again, and in the meantime they're always glad of visitors. So the Great Western Society decided it would be nice to do something special for the millennium.
We actually looked at an opportunity of finding something different for our visitors, knowing that lots of towns and villages would be having one-off events for the millennium year. And one of our members at one of our very, very early meetings suggested having 2,000 engines on this site for a whole week event. I thought it was a brilliant idea. I like a challenge, and I thought it was a great opportunity to see if we could actually do it.
Of course, there aren't enough full-size steam locomotives left. So the plan was to get some smaller ones in for the week as well. And railway modelers would be invited to bring their layouts, complete with as many engines as they could find. All sorts of people rallied round, including the owner of the Flying Scotsman, who lives locally. Organisers were hopeful that 2,000 engines would be there on the day, but it was touch and go. They could only hold their breath and wait.
We've done it. I'm pleased to say they did a count. I think we were one or two under yesterday, which was our first day, and today people have brought in extra engines to compensate for that. We're very lucky that we've borrowed the engines from lots of members, lots of enthusiasts who have been really keen to see the number of engines together. I've been very fortunate in having a gentleman who's organised all the model railway side of it, who's used to doing model railway exhibitions. And without him, I think I would have struggled. So really all credit to him for pulling together the amount of engines that we've got here.
It was just like the old days. A whole line of steam engines waiting to move off-shed on a variety of duties. In the middle, the most famous express locomotive in the world, looking brand new.
Flying Scotsman is just fabulous, just fabulous to have here. I really didn't think that we would achieve it. But the pleasing thing is the general public, the mums and the dads and the general people who have rung me and said, we're just so pleased Flying Scotsman's there. I used to go to here, there or anywhere else by it, or my dad used to be involved with the locomotive. So it's the ordinary people, I think, is pleasing, that they're pleased to see it here, and I think we're pleased to give the opportunity to the locomotive and to people in the area to come and see it.
Flying Scotsman was one of a team of engines taking visitors for rides on the demonstration lines at Didcot. It was the centre of attention, but it had plenty of competition. The flagship of the Great Western Fleet, an engine that regularly ran through Reading and Newbury in steam days, was coupled to the kind of post office vehicles that used to grab mail at high speed. And there just happened to be some mail bags hanging about. So why not grab them? It all happened so quickly that they have to do it again so people can see. On a smaller scale, but no less remarkable, is the work of railway modellers. The chimney of the brewery is even complete with authentic smoke, as well as the regulation lightning conductor. Meanwhile, the Southampton Railway modellers have even recreated a local station, complete with the correct trains.
This is a model of Romsey Station, built as it looked in the 1930s, and the first train we got coming in now is a Great Western train which has just come down from Cheltenham via Andover, Stockbridge, and on its way to Southampton Terminus. This is followed by a freight going the other way, leaving Southampton docks, heading towards Salisbury and the west of England.
But why have a model when you can build on a scale of 12 inches to the foot? The full-size train set here includes more than 20 locomotives. This tank engine spent its working life in the docks at Cardiff. Almost everything on the site has been rescued from somewhere else, including the signal box.
Well, this was from Radstock in North Somerset, so it was a fairly small country station. Would have been fairly quiet a lot of the time. Perhaps certainly its latter days you only had one train an hour or so. So it would have been reasonably relaxing. Like many jobs, the signalman's job is one where a lot of the time you don't have a great deal to do, and then suddenly you have vast amounts to do in short periods of time.
And it isn't just the trains and the signal boxes that have been restored here. The whole site, acres and acres of it, was derelict a few years ago. It was a combination of forgotten railway sidings and decaying industrial buildings. People have been beavering away for years, and the job that began with the signal box still isn't finished.
It's been quite an exercise really, because when it was first moved here, was actually the first building, or indeed any structure in this area of the site. It was put up on the new brick base in a completely sort of weed-covered area, no tracks, no signalling, no landscape, anything. So all that you see around in terms of the level crossing, the signals, even the trees, have been put here subsequent to the block. So it's actually been a 25-year project for quite a large team of volunteers.
Didcot is lucky to be connected to the railway network. And that means engines like Rood Ashton Hall can come back from exile. It was based at this very shed in the early 60s and would have worked regularly along the Thames Valley and as far south as Basingstoke. All sorts of mainline engines still call at Didcot. King Edward I bound for Bristol via Didcot. Canadian Pacific heading to Southampton via Didcot. And Green Arrow tiptoeing through Newbury on its way to Plymouth from the National Railway Museum in York. Without somewhere to coal and water, these trips wouldn't be easy.
Lots of steam engines come in here all day and night. We don't always know when they're coming. You never know what you're going to find here. It could really be anything. And sometimes I turn up here at 8 o'clock in the morning and think, oh gosh, where did that come from? And overnight, an engine's come in for some coal and water, turn around and go back out on the train the following day.
Just how much longer these endangered creatures will find watering holes isn't clear. But the Great Western Society feels optimistic. One day its own fleet might sally forth again, particularly if young people care enough to keep it all going.
I was 16 when I first started here. Our chairman was 16 when he first started here. You know, we're all getting older, and we're really pleased that the youngsters are coming in and that they want to be involved instead of sitting at home on their computers and not getting involved in voluntary activities. You know, we really feel that we should be encouraging them to get out, to work within the community and to give people something to see for the future.
If this engine looks a bit odd, that's because it's not one of ours. Eastern Europe is only just giving up on steam. This Polish State Railways engine, for instance, is newly redundant from their coal and steel industry. Today is a special day for the engine, and the national flag flies proudly above the depot, along with Poland's symbol of good luck, the stork. Arrangements have been made for the old goods engine to pull a series of passenger specials that will take high-ranking officials for a day of Polish folk dancing in the countryside. The Polish consul has turned up with a ceremonial lump of coal on a silver plate, along with a bottle of local firewater to sustain the crew. The coal is for immediate use. The alcohol must wait until this evening. Soon the quaint little engine is heading through the delightful European countryside. But this isn't the outskirts of Warsaw. Oh no. This is the outskirts of Tunbridge Wells. The Spa Valley Railway is having a Polish day. And that's because Tunbridge Wells' very own steam railway really does rely on Polish engines. The railway was closed in the 80s, and is gradually being reopened again, with every prospect of reconnecting itself to the rail network at Eridge. The terminus is right in Tunbridge Wells town centre, next to Sainsbury's. But some of the locals still don't know that steam is once again nesting in the town. The line runs as far as Groombridge, where a simple station has been recreated. So the railway has park and ride possibilities, as well as tourist potential. Tunbridge Wells is an unusual place in railway terms. There are still commuter trains in the town, as well as steam trains.
Well, Tunbridge Wells used to have two railway stations. The main railway station is still live and running, and you can go on trains to Hastings. And the other railway station, Tunbridge Wells West, closed in 1985. And you used to be able to go from here to London, and to Eastbourne, and to Lewes, and to Brighton. And a group of volunteers set themselves up to reopen the line, to restore the line for both steam trains, and they wanted to run a commuter service between Tunbridge Wells and Eridge as well. And like all these projects, it took many years to raise the money and persuade the authorities and to gather the infrastructure of the society. And we bought the line from British Rail in 1996, and we opened at Christmas of that year.
Fortunately, the Victorian engine shed survives. It's a godsend for the little railway, a ready-made home for their engines.
Well, the railway ended up having two Polish steam engines, and we got these mainly because of their sort of general availability, and they were bought by two volunteers who brought them to the railway. The one that you can hear noisily behind me at the moment, with the safety valves blowing off, has actually been restored here at the railway. So our own volunteers, we've got the skills and competence to do that. It was brought back into service quite recently, and it's going to be in charge of the trains today as it was yesterday.
A local beauty spot called High Rocks is halfway along the route, and with Polish flags flying, it became the perfect base for a weekend of celebration. One happy consequence of the Polish connection is a growing link with the Polish community in Britain. It was smiles all round from the mayor and mayoress, and from the Polish consul. Nature has been kind to the Spa Valley. Much of the journey is through woodland, with a riot of wild flowers along the way.
Once you leave Tunbridge Wells, it goes through some very nice countryside. It goes past High Rocks, which is a local beauty spot in its own right, with its famous sandstone cliffs. And then the line winds its way out to Groombridge. And then beyond there, we're hoping to extend the railway out to Eridge in the Sussex countryside.
4 years after the first train ran, the railway is now looking hard at the prospect of a further advance into the countryside.
what we'd like to do is to extend the railway out to Erridge, and then we can run trains from here and connect up with the Connect service that joins at Erridge. And from then, when you look forward, there are other opportunities. Maybe you could actually have excursions running on the main line, etc., etc. The opportunities are very considerable.
A glance at the railway map of Kent and Sussex reveals a missing link that train operators might be only too glad to restore. Whether the steam enthusiasts would want to see their scenic route railroaded by rail track is another question. They're doing remarkably well in spite of fears that steam preservation would gradually die away. All the evidence is that there are more passengers than ever.
Well, there seem to be. I don't know what the figures are, but there are many millions of people over the country who go to steam railways. The largest ones are some of the biggest tourist attractions in the country, and our own little railway has obviously got some way to go, but at the moment, after 4 years, we're still having over 20,000 visitors a year, so it's quite encouraging.
One refreshing aspect of this young railway is the number of young volunteers. The green engine is being driven by a 22-year-old, and the fireman is just 16. It seems very young, but in the last days of British Railway steam, there were plenty of people of this age on the footplate. What's different now, though, is that the driver's a woman, which was unheard of back in the 1960s. Vicky Goebel is an engineering student at Brighton University, and her fireman, Matt Dives, has recently finished his GCSEs. It's people of this age who have the future of steam railways in their hands. Strange to think that neither of these youngsters on the footplate was even born in steam days.
I mean, I don't remember steam on the main line. The closest I've seen is the Orient Express going through Southampton. Most of us here don't remember steam on the main line. Isn't it the dream of every child to grow up to be an engine driver?